The year is 2009. A young woman stumbles out of a party, mascara smeared, glitter falling from her hair like stardust. She grabs the microphone and begins to sing about brushing her teeth with a bottle of Jack Daniels. The world doesn't know it yet, but they're witnessing the birth of an icon. They're meeting Kesha Rose Siebert, a girl who would transform pain into power, silence into song, and nearly lose everything in the process. But this story doesn't begin with fame. It begins in a cramped apartment in Nashville, Tennessee, where a single mother named P.B. Siebert rocks her infant daughter to sleep while dreaming of melodies that might never be heard. Born on March 1st, 1987, Kesha entered a world already steeped in music and struggle. Her mother, Rosemary Patricia Pebe Siebert, was a gifted songwriter who had co-written Old Flames Can't Hold a Candle to You, a song that would become a country classic when Dolly Parton recorded it. Yet despite her talent, Pebe found herself raising 2 children alone, relying on welfare payments and food stamps to survive. The irony was cruel. A woman who could craft songs that touched millions couldn't afford to feed her own family. Kesha's earliest memories are painted with the sounds of her mother's guitar and the harsh fluorescent lights of recording studios. Pebe would bring her infant daughter along to sessions, and little Kesha would sleep in the corner while her mother poured her heart into melodies. Music was my lullaby, Kesha would later recall, and poverty was my cradle. The identity of Kesha's father remained a mystery that would haunt her throughout her life. Pebe never spoke of him, and Kesha learned early that some questions were better left unasked. In 2011, a man named Bob Chamberlain would come forward claiming to be her biological father. But Kesha rejected his advances, choosing instead to honor the family that had raised her. When Kesha was 4 years old, Pebe made a decision that would change everything. She packed their meager belongings and moved the family to Nashville in 1991. Chasing a new publishing deal and the promise of a better life. Nashville was the heart of country music. But for a struggling songwriter, it could also be a graveyard of broken dreams. In their new home, Kesha's musical education truly began. Pebe would take her daughter and older brother Lagan to recording studios. And it was there that Kesha's voice first emerged. Studio engineers began to notice the little girl who could harmonize effortlessly with professional singers. She had this raw, untrained talent, remembered one longtime Nashville session musician. You could hear something special in her voice, even when she was just a kid. By the time Kesha reached her teenage years, she was already writing songs with her mother. Their small kitchen table became a creative laboratory where melodies were born and lyrics were crafted. Pebe recognized her daughter's gift and nurtured it. But she also wanted Kesha to have the education she herself had never received. Kesha attended Franklin High School and later Brentwood High School, where she struggled to fit in. Her classmates saw a quirky girl with an unconventional family, but they couldn't see the artist brewing beneath the surface. She was intelligent, scoring nearly perfect on her SATs, and received a scholarship to Barnard College. But the pull of music was stronger than the promise of higher education. At 17, Kesha made a decision that would define her life. She dropped out of high school just 3 months before graduation and convinced her mother to move to Los Angeles. It was a gamble that terrified Pebe, but she believed in her daughter's talent. I knew she had something special, Pebe would later say, but I also knew how brutal the music industry could be. Los Angeles in 2005 was a city of dreams and nightmares, where young artists arrived daily with nothing but hope and hunger. Kesha moved into a small apartment and began the grinding work of trying to make it in music. She took whatever gigs she could find, singing backup vocals for established artists and writing songs that other performers would claim as their own. It was during this period that Kesha first encountered Dr. Luke, a producer whose real name was Lucas Gottwald. He had already made his mark in the industry, working with artists like Kelly Clarkson and Pink. To 18-year-old Kesha, he seemed like a golden ticket to the success she craved. In 2005, she signed with his label, Kimosabi Entertainment, and his publishing company. What happened next would be the subject of years of legal battles and painful testimony. But those close to Kesha began to notice changes in the vibrant young artist. The girl who had once been fearless and full of life seemed to grow smaller, more cautious. He started controlling everything, her mother Pebe would later reveal. What she ate, how she looked, who she could talk to. It was like watching my daughter disappear. For years, Kesha worked in the shadows, contributing vocals and writing songs for other artists. She sang backup for Britney Spears and Paris Hilton, honing her craft while watching others achieve the fame she desperately wanted. The industry seemed designed to keep her invisible, but Kesha's voice was too powerful to remain hidden forever. The breakthrough came in an unexpected way. In early 2009, rapper Flo Rida was working on a song called Right Round, and Kesha provided the uncredited hook that would make the song irresistible. Her voice, sultry and playful, turned the track into a massive hit. Suddenly, people were asking, who is that girl singing on Right Round? Dr. Luke recognized the moment had arrived. He allowed Kesha to record her own material, and in August 2009, TiK ToK was released to the world. The song was everything pop music had been waiting for: irreverent, catchy, and unapologetically fun. It spoke to a generation of young people who were tired of being told how to behave. The lyrics painted a picture of youthful rebellion and carefree nights. Wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy, grab my glasses. I'm out the door. I'm going to hit this city. But beneath the party anthem was something deeper. Kesha was creating a character, a persona that could handle the spotlight in ways her real self might not be able to. TiK ToK became a phenomenon. It spent 9 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became the best-selling digital single in history at the time. Kesha had achieved everything she had dreamed of. But success came with a price that few could see. Music critics were divided. Some dismissed her as a manufactured pop star, while others recognized her as a brilliant manipulator of popular culture. Robert Hilburn of the Los Angeles Times wrote, "Kesha represents something authentic in her artificiality, a genuine voice speaking through an outrageous persona." But Rolling Stone was less kind, calling her music aggressively stupid. The criticism stung, but it was nothing compared to what was happening behind the scenes. According to later testimony, Dr. Luke's control over Kesha's life had become suffocating. She would later allege that he monitored her weight obsessively, criticized her appearance, and undermined her confidence at every turn. He would tell me I was fat, that my voice was terrible, that I was lucky he was willing to work with me. She would later testify. Her debut album, Animal, was released in January 2010 and debuted at #1. Songs like Your Love Is My Drug and Take It Off solidified her image as the ultimate party girl. But those closest to her saw the toll it was taking. Her brother Lagan would later reflect, "She was living this fantasy life on stage and in music videos, but at home, she was falling apart." The public Kesha was fearless and wild, covered in glitter and ready to party until dawn. She encouraged her fans, whom she called animals, to embrace their weirdness and reject societal expectations. At concerts, she would appear in outrageous costumes, sometimes emerging from giant inflatable genitalia or covered in fake blood. It was performance art disguised as pop music. But it was also a form of armor. Behind the glitter and the bravado, Kesha was struggling with demons that her fans couldn't see. The pressure to maintain her party girl image while dealing with what she later described as abuse created a devastating internal conflict. She began to develop an eating disorder, something she would later claim was exacerbated by Dr. Luke's constant criticism of her appearance. Her personal relationships suffered. She dated actor Brad Ashenfelter for several years. But the relationship crumbled under the pressure of her career and her inability to escape Dr. Luke's influence. Friends from her Nashville days began to drift away, unable to reconcile the girl they had known with the persona she had become. In 2012, Kesha released Warrior, her second album. Songs like Die Young and Come On continued her streak of party anthems. But other tracks hinted at deeper pain. Past Lives was a haunting ballad that showed a vulnerability rarely seen in her public persona. The album was successful, but Kesha herself was becoming increasingly isolated. The breaking point came in 2014, after years of what she would later describe as psychological, physical, and sexual abuse. Kesha made the decision that would change everything. On October 14th, 2014, she filed a lawsuit against Dr. Luke, alleging sexual assault and battery, sexual harassment, gender violence, emotional abuse, and violation of California business practices. The lawsuit detailed horrific accusations. Kesha claimed that Dr. Luke had drugged and raped her in 2005, shortly after she signed with him. She alleged that he had psychologically tormented her for years, controlling every aspect of her life and career. The legal documents painted a picture of a young artist trapped in a nightmare, unable to escape because her abuser controlled her ability to make music. Dr. Luke vehemently denied all allegations and filed his own countersuit for defamation. The legal battle that followed would consume years of Kesha's life and nearly destroy her career. Sony Music, which distributed Dr. Luke's label, found itself caught in the middle of a he said, she said battle that had no clear resolution. In February 2016, Kesha appeared in a New York courtroom seeking a preliminary injunction that would allow her to record music without Dr. Luke's involvement. The hearing was devastating. Kesha broke down in tears as the judge denied her request, ruling that she could not prove irreparable harm. The image of Kesha sobbing in court became a symbol of how the legal system often fails victims of abuse. The hashtag Free Kesha movement exploded across social media. Fans, fellow artists, and advocates rallied to her cause. Taylor Swift donated $250,000 to help with her legal expenses. Lady Gaga, who had her own experiences with sexual assault, became a vocal supporter. I believe her, Gaga said simply, and those 3 words carried enormous weight. But support from fellow artists couldn't solve Kesha's fundamental problem. She was contractually bound to work with Dr. Luke, and she refused to do so. For nearly 6 years, one of pop music's most distinctive voices was largely silenced. She couldn't release new music, couldn't tour effectively, and watched as her career stagnated. The silence was torture for an artist who had defined herself through music. Kesha fell into a deep depression, struggling with suicidal thoughts and the eating disorder that had plagued her for years. In 2014, she entered rehab for treatment, a decision that probably saved her life but further delayed her career. Her mother, Pebe, became her fiercest advocate during this period. The woman who had once been starstruck by Dr. Luke's success now saw him as the man who had nearly destroyed her daughter. He almost destroyed us, Pebe told Billboard in 2016. But Kesha is stronger than he ever imagined. The legal battle created strange alliances and bitter divisions within the music industry. Some artists and executives quietly supported Dr. Luke, believing that Kesha's accusations were unproven. Others saw her as a symbol of the industry's treatment of women and rallied to her cause. The case became a test of how seriously the music industry would take allegations of abuse in the post-#MeToo era. In 2017, a glimmer of hope appeared. Kesha was allowed to release Praying, a powerful ballad that addressed her experiences without mentioning Dr. Luke by name. The song was a masterpiece of pain and resilience, with Kesha's voice soaring over spare piano accompaniment as she sang about forgiveness and survival. I hope you find your peace, falling on your knees, praying, she sang, and it was clear she was addressing her alleged abuser. The song was both a goodbye and a declaration of independence. It earned her a Grammy nomination and proved that her artistic gifts had not been diminished by years of legal battles. Her 2017 album Rainbow was a triumph. Songs like Learn to Let Go and Woman featuring the Dap King's horns showed an artist who had found her voice again. The album was both deeply personal and universally appealing, dealing with themes of survival, healing, and self-acceptance. Critics who had once dismissed her as a novelty act now recognized her as a serious artist, but the legal battle continued. Dr. Luke's defamation case against Kesha proceeded, and in 2023, both sides were preparing for what promised to be a highly publicized trial. The prospect of having to testify about the most traumatic experiences of her life while defending herself against accusations that she had lied was almost unbearable for Kesha. Then, in June 2023, a breakthrough came. Kesha and Dr. Luke reached a settlement in their long-standing legal battle, ending nearly a decade of litigation. The terms were not disclosed, but both parties agreed to dismiss their claims against each other. In a statement, Kesha said she was grateful to put the matter behind her and focus on her music. The settlement was not an admission of guilt or innocence by either party, but it allowed Kesha to finally move forward. She was free to make music without the shadow of litigation hanging over every creative decision. For her fans, it felt like a victory, even if the legal questions would never be fully resolved. Today, Kesha continues to evolve as an artist. Her recent work shows a maturity and depth that her early party anthems only hinted at. She has become an advocate for survivors of abuse and a symbol of resilience in the face of seemingly impossible odds. Her voice, once used primarily for party anthems, now carries the weight of experience and the power of survival. The girl who once sang about brushing her teeth with Jack Daniels has become a woman who sings about healing, forgiveness, and the complex process of rebuilding a life after trauma. She has learned to separate the persona from the person, to find strength in vulnerability, and to use her platform to help others who have faced similar struggles. Her relationship with her fans has deepened. They are no longer just animals looking for a good time. They are a community of survivors, misfits, and believers who see in Kesha's story a reflection of their own struggles. At her concerts, tears flow as freely as glitter, and her audiences understand that they are witnessing not just a performance, but a celebration of survival. The music industry has also changed around her. The #Me Too movement has forced a reckoning with how women are treated in entertainment, and Kesha's case was one of the catalysts for that change. Young artists now have more resources and support systems than existed when she first entered the industry, though many challenges remain. Kesha's mother, Pebe, continues to be her closest collaborator and fiercest protector. The two women who survived poverty, abuse, and years of legal battles together remain bonded by shared experience and mutual respect. They continue to write songs together, their kitchen table still serving as a creative laboratory where pain is transformed into art. The mystery of Kesha's father remains unsolved, but she has found family in unexpected places: her fans, her collaborators, and fellow survivors have created a chosen family that transcends blood relations. She has learned that family is not just who raises you, but who stands by you when the world seems determined to tear you down. In recent interviews, Kesha speaks with a wisdom that comes from surviving the unthinkable. She is grateful for her success, but realistic about its costs. She understands that her story is both unique and universal, that her experience with abuse reflects broader patterns of power and exploitation in the entertainment industry. Her music now incorporates elements of rock, country, and folk, reflecting an artistic growth that was impossible when she was confined to the narrow expectations of pop stardom. She collaborates with artists across genres, from country legend Dolly Parton to punk rock icons, showing that her artistic vision was always broader than her early hits suggested. The glitter is still there, but it serves a different purpose now. It's not armor or distraction, it's celebration. It represents the sparkle that remains after everything else has been stripped away. The irreducible essence of joy that no amount of trauma can completely extinguish. Kesha's story is far from over. At 37, she is entering what many consider the prime years for a songwriter. With experiences that would crush some artists but have only strengthened her artistic voice, she speaks of new projects, new collaborations, and new ways of using her platform to support causes she believes in. The legal settlement has freed her from the past in practical terms, but the deeper healing continues. She works with therapists, continues to advocate for abuse survivors, and uses her music as both therapy and testimony. Each song is a small victory over the forces that tried to silence her. Her legacy is already secure. She proved that an artist could survive years of legal battles and creative suppression and emerge stronger. She showed that commercial success and artistic integrity are not mutually exclusive. Most importantly, she demonstrated that even in an industry known for chewing up and spitting out young artists, it is possible to reclaim your voice. The girl who once seemed like a novelty act has become a symbol of resilience. The party anthems that made her famous now feel like preparation for the more serious work of survival and healing. The glitter that once seemed frivolous now appears prophetic, a promise that something beautiful could emerge from even the darkest circumstances. As Kesha looks toward the future, she carries with her the lessons of a journey that has taken her from the heights of pop stardom to the depths of legal and personal hell and back again. She knows now that success is not just about reaching the top, but about learning how to survive the fall and find the strength to climb again. Her voice, once described by critics as manufactured and artificial, now rings with an authenticity that can only come from having been tested by fire. She sings now not just for herself, but for everyone who has been told they are not enough, who has been silenced or suppressed, who has had to fight for the right to tell their own story. In the end, Kesha's greatest triumph is not any single song or album, but the simple fact that she is still here, still singing, still fighting. The girl who began her career brushing her teeth with Jack Daniels has learned to face each new day with something far more powerful, the knowledge that she has survived the worst that life could throw at her and emerged with her voice intact. The glitter may fade and the party may end, but the song continues. And in a world that often tries to silence those who speak uncomfortable truths, that may be the most revolutionary act of all. Kesha Rose Sebert, the girl who nearly lost everything, has found something far more valuable than fame. She has found herself, and in doing so, has shown others that they too can survive, can heal, and can sing their truth no matter who tries to stop them. The story of Kesha is ultimately a story of transformation, from victim to survivor, from manufactured pop star to authentic artist, from silenced voice to powerful advocate. It is a reminder that our greatest struggles often become our greatest strengths, and that sometimes the most important battles are not won in courtrooms or on charts, but in the quiet moments when we choose to keep going despite everything that tries to stop us. The music plays on, and so does she.